Good morning, welcome to 59 Minutes. My name is Levi Kones. This morning I'm privileged to host a gentleman who is making the waves on YouTube. He goes there by the name Shared Moments with Justus. He's here himself, Justus Nandwa.
Right.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Glad to have you here.
Glad to be here.
Yeah.
Man, it's an honor to meet you.
It's an honor to meet you. You're doing really, really great things.
I like your content as well.
Yeah. Well, I looked at your YouTube channel and
yes.
You host people on real life stories, things they have experienced, and you call it Shared Moments with Justus. Yes. Tell me a little bit about the background and how you got there.
Yes. Well, first of all, I love listening to stories because for me, stories make or break. I believe I'm where I am because of stories that have been told to me in the past. And so it got to a point that personally I have a media background. I'm a trained journalist. So around 2010, I was in Langata Women's Prison, telling some stories, profiling some of the stories in the prison from the women. And so I did quite a number of stories. I talked to around, I think at the time, around 6 or 7 women. So which, and then after that, that was 2010. That story, I posted some of them on YouTube, but I was working for a different organization at the time. And then that was it. I knew, of course, I've been in the media since then, but not very actively online. 2019, I received a phone call from a lady in the UK. And she was like, Justus, I'm looking for...
Wait, that's 9 years later?
Yes.
At these 9 years, umekuwa tu ukifanya vitu zingine?
Nilikuwa nikifanya vitu zingine.
Hii YouTube umepost...
YouTube, I had posted that story I did in 2010 on YouTube around 2013 because that's the period YouTube ilikuwa imeanza kupeak na nini. So I posted that story in 2013 on a YouTube page for the media house that I was working for. So 2019, 9 years later, a lady calls me from the UK and she says, I'm looking for a lady by the name Beatrice, who you did her story 9 years ago in Langata Women's Prison. Can you help me get to her? And I'm like, oh yes, there's a story I did in 2010 of Beatrice and other ladies, but I have not been in touch. I don't even know if she left prison. Beatrice had been, during the time I was doing her story, her case was still on trial because she had been accused of murder. So I went back online to YouTube, I checked the story, and I found the story had actually gathered a lot of feedback and traction. It was in millions of views. But I couldn't get hold of Beatrice. So I told the lady, I'll try my best to reach out to Beatrice.
So you start investigations.
Yes, to reach out to Beatrice.
Where do we find?
And then, but in a month or so, sikuwa nimeweza kupata where Beatrice, getting hold of Beatrice. And then suddenly, I receive another phone call. I pick, and the lady introduces herself as Beatrice, the lady from Langata Women's Prison, the one that I had done her story.
Wow.
The one that I'm looking for. I'm like, no, this can't be real.
Why was she looking? Had she heard you were looking for her?
That's the question. So I'm like, Beatrice, first of all, where did you even get my contact from? So she's like, I've gotten your contact from a lady in UK who was apparently looking for me. And in the process, she got my contact, called me, and gave me your number.
Wow.
That was the beginning of Shared Moments with Justus. I was like, because for 9 or so years, this concept has been more of incubation.
Yes.
It is something that I've wanted to do, but the drive, I think I was not, the time had not just come for me to start doing this, but it's something that was even inspired the story I did in 2010. That was the whole idea, but it more or less ikakufa too. I didn't do much after that. So this time round, when Beatrice calls me, it revived those memories. And I was like, Beatrice, you know what? I'm going to start something, and you're going to be my #1 candidate. I have to do a follow-up story of your life, because now she tells me she's actually out of prison. She left prison in 2012. So all along, she's been out of prison.
Wow.
So You've experienced life in prison for almost 3 or so years. You're out of prison.
Out of prison, yes.
You know, and all those things. So there's a lot to talk about. So I say, no, Beatrice, I want to do something, and I'm going to start with you. And that is where Shared Moments with Justus started in 2020.
So when you were starting, what was the concept in your head in terms of the shoot and where you were going to do it?
At first, things were not very clear in my mind, what exactly I wanted to do in terms of execution. It was not very clear, but what was clear was I wanted people to tell their own stories. I was tired of, you know...
In their own words.
In their own words.
Yeah.
You know, this issue where you bring people and they are telling their story, but you also like telling their story at the same time. So I wanted to do it differently, where people have time to extensively share their experience.
And that's a good point, because sometimes even when we read the newspaper, the story is just a column.
Yes.
It's not everything.
It's not everything.
You know.
It's not everything.
Or if it's on TV or news, it's just a bite.
Exactly.
It's 3 minutes we're hearing a man shot his wife.
Because for me, and then why the platform, YouTube as a platform, was very convenient for me, given this kind of thing I wanted to do, is one, partly because of what you are saying, time. I mean, on YouTube, you can post anything as long as it can go. Yeah. People will still... As long as the story is the story, tunaendelea. Of course, at first I was a little resistant, you know, was skeptical in terms of duration. I didn't even know how long these stories should run. On one hand, I want someone to tell their whole story. But at the back of my mind, because of my training... You don't want to lose people. Because of my training in journalism, I'm like, if it's too long, I'll lose people. But so I was like, okay, let me just try and see if it's this long, how many people are going to be, you know, interested and even watch all through. It was shocking. So tell me, this first story was how long? This first story was around 50 minutes, which for me was suicidal. And before you even tell me the reactions, these 50 minutes, how long did you shoot it? I shot for 2 hours. I shot for 2 hours because the style of production, the style of my engagement with the guest is one that I allow someone to tell the story without much interruption. And then, of course, in post-production, when I'm doing the editing, I can be able to now you know, pick the chonga, you know, to make it now more palatable and all that. But when the story, during a shoot time, the story can be shot even for 3 hours. The camera just rolls. The camera rolls. It can be shot even for 3 hours. Wacha mtu aongee kama anataka lia, you know, just so. And of course, that's the other thing. I try to create an environment, first of all, even before the interview, to make that person as vulnerable as possible, so that they are comfortable to, first of all, talk about the experiences. Because when you're talking of stories, these are personal experiences, things that people have gone through. They are not making these things up. So first of all, for someone to get to a level that they are talking about their own personal, you know, some of its secret things they have never shared with anyone, they're talking about it publicly. It's not easy. So you first have to create an environment that will make them relax. They can relax. You know, so sometimes even before we start the shoot, we can talk for like 2 hours. Just talking. We have not started recording. So that we are on the same page. So it's an investment of time, really. It is. It is. And now, after you shot it, so these 50 minutes, you post it. So I post these 50 minutes. Are you worried about, are you checking every hour? Like, I am. Or are you going to bed and saying, watch it one after 4 hours? Before I posted, before I even posted this first story, because I had already created the platform, Shared Moments with Justus, and then COVID hit. That was around the same period in March. So it was, I said, before I post this story of Beatrice, it's the only story I have. And once I start posting, people might ask for more stories, which I don't have at the moment. So what I did, I started posting actually different things, totally, completely different things on that channel, which were more of my tutorials, just talking about tech and all that, you know, but there was nothing. No one was watching those things. So when I posted Beatrice's story, I had at least recorded several other stories. So I posted. You were ready to get on the road. I was ready to get on the road. I posted the story. And then you're there watching, you're like expectant.
Yeah.
You want to see how many people, because I premiered it, so that it
Yes.
more or less looks like it's a live show. So I think around 10 people were watching the premiere averagely for the 50 minutes. I was like, well, not bad. At least someone is watching. But the story was there for like 2-3 months. It was less than 1,000 views. So
really?
Yes. Less than 1,000 views. So I was like, well, okay. I know what it means to be persistent and consistent.
Yes.
Let me just try and give it some time. Maybe it will peak at some point. So the story was there. Reaction, one or two people, nothing much really.
Are you thinking maybe this is not the thing?
My issue was maybe it's too long. I was sure
maybe
with the
when
content.
guys went 20 minutes and said...
I was sure with the content. I was sure with the story.
Yeah.
But, so I was like struggling. Maybe it's because it's too long. So in the process of, should I reduce these things to maybe 10 minutes? I was like, but it will...
Which 10 minutes?
I know. What am I going to pick?
Yeah, which one?
Which one?
Yeah.
I said, I honestly entertained that thought for the longest time. But I said, let me share more. Maybe something will happen. Until, which month was that? 2021, around January 2021, this year. Everything just blew up.
Boom.
Boom. And I'm like, okay, subscribers are just growing. Suddenly, in a day, you have like 5,000 new subscribers. In a day, what are you talking about? Viewership, people are watching. So I was like, okay, wait a minute. So what just happened? It took me, I was taken aback, for sure.
I think it's the art of sharing.
Yes.
And then it gets to just the right place where it's just multiple shares.
Yes.
And the pandemic did not do us harm in that regard.
Very true. Very true.
Because people have to find now content, something you want to see.
The pandemic really, really helped, if you ask me. Of course, on one hand, it did a lot of harm in many ways.
Yes, but in this particular instance...
In this particular instance, it really helped. Because one, again, I had the time. I could shoot any day, any time. People are working from home, everybody is available and all that, So, as you say, the stories, people started connecting with the content, with what people were talking about. And it was new, it was something different. And people are always looking for something different, So I think that is what really helped put this thing in the limelight.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how many subscribers now?
We are around 40,000. Not so many.
No, that's subscription. You see, that's a very serious story, because those are guys who are waiting.
And talking of subscribers, man. I've run other YouTube channels before.
Yeah.
And I know the struggle. It means, what it takes to even have
people
one
will watch
person,
but subscribe in story.
Just one person to subscribe.
Yeah.
It's not an easy
It's a big thing.
It's a big thing.
It's a big thing. And views just keep growing and growing.
Yes.
But did you feel the pressure after this particular story did so well? That, was your second story, were you having some fear?
It gave me pressure, good pressure. Because I was like, it means the stories that I'll do after this have to be better than this, if not as good. So that was the thing. I was like, do I know so many people really going through stuff that can be able to inspire and motivate someone? So that was the pressure. The pressure was really there. So I tried to call around. Good thing, I've worked closely with churches and, people who can, we've had contacts of people who can be able to really openly talk about their lives.
Yeah, because that's the other thing. Some people have gone through stuff.
But they're not willing to share.
Yeah, wamefunga mlango.
So, and also the platform helped me in a way that people started reaching out. Before, I'm the one only looking for people to come and share their content.
Yes.
But after sharing a few stories, now people started looking for me.
I know so and so.
I know so and so.
I personally have a story.
Yes. So that made it a little easier for me. But it's been an interesting and exciting journey. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what are you doing now in terms of how many times are you shooting?
So what I do, because sometimes it's you can't be very predictable until someone confirms that I'm willing to share this. So we shoot anytime. Whenever the story is ready, that's the time we shoot. Sometimes someone is ready with a story. After a week, they have changed their mind.
Yeah, it happens.
You know.
Yeah, I know.
So
Happens with guests here too. 10 minutes to the show.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I'm saying, butterflies.
There was one, and I've come to also
and viewers are waiting.
Yeah, exactly. I've come to appreciate though, because there was a time, there was a lady I talked to who was supposed to come to the show to share her story. It was something around mental health. And so just the evening, we were to shoot the following morning, the evening too. She calls me. She didn't actually call me. I called her now, just following up with the guest, preparation, last minute preparation.
Yeah.
And she was like, I'm not coming. I'm like, I usually, the show still, usually runs on Tuesdays.
Yes.
So we premiere every Tuesday at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
So I was late shooting this. It was the only episode I had. I was waiting for the following Tuesday. This is on Sunday. I'm supposed to shoot on Monday morning, and so that the show is ready for Tuesday.
And
so she tells me, I'm not coming. And I'm like, okay, is there a problem? Something I can do to, she's like, no, I just don't think I'm in the right frame of mind to do this. I'm sorry. It was not the easiest thing for me at that.
Yeah.
But over time, I've had so many of that kind of
that sometimes you buffer, you have anticipation.
Yes. And it also, brought about the conversation, especially around mental health. And that's why I've done a lot of stories on mental health, because it's not like, I came to understand later, the person is also still struggling. It's
true.
So
true.
It will be, insensitive on my part to push them. No, you have to do, this is the only thing, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that has, helped us also in preparation to make sure that you have at least, you record ahead of time. So we do 2-3 stories ahead of time, so we have them ready. We just schedule them for this week, following week, and things like that. So every Tuesday, 8 p.m., there's a story.
Tuesday, 8 p.m. Let's take a break right there and come back and talk more with Justus Nandwa. He of Shared Moments with Justus. See you in a bit. All right, turn it to you.
He will give you everything. Iribe chito imitate matwego mukale iribi watatefara I need you about it konyo ni bayo ngole darling I think I love you can you give me a chance I show you how I can love you yes
Yekas kityo kolenji ine kokoti matayat ine ile
never ever Tukuk chetinyegei ak meldo. Tukuk chetinyegei ak sobondo. Do not make a decision as a group. This generation, chekikure deep state, no way. On a marriage, really? No. Decide your own. Ma show you ngalega bagulaywe. Do bagulaywe kono ochonne mugote nakuru. Age esine nagele bagulaywe house. Ango do bagulaywe ko liamolum de kapsabe.
To what extent nenyalo kipen context chebo ex nenyu? Ako nyalo keng'ololi?
In fact, nyalo timutu nyele kirunin. Kiasi.
So kumeten kabisa.
Una serious note, unamwambia nimepata mtu unamleta na unamwonyesha. If you are really so genuine, make them even friends. Why not? Unaona nyinyi. Ona nyinyi kumbe nyinyi watu kuna keep. Hakuna anamwao. Kabisa. Mami chomye netot kechomyo, netot icham konyileng. Ako ikere imama we. Kirinai kabisa chicho leindo chomye. Ngoite langat komi konyil chepyoset nyina lagok. Priority ko konyin kirinai ne.
inyorchigei milionishek 25 eng Lotto Mega Jackpot Draw.
All you have to do is play any amount kutoka 50 shillings to 1000 Kenya shillings. Na unaweza